Hello and welcome for another monthly edition of new book releases. I'm very excited because these are the ones coming out in my birthday month. I'm Morgan. If this is your first time here, I hope you will find new books you want to pick up. We have some series concluding, we have some series starting, and as usual, these will be separated by genre for the timestamps, though some of them were very difficult because I almost debated starting to separate them by week instead. Since some of them wanted to be, well, they sound a little bit like this genre and a little bit like this genre. We will just have to see, but I still went with genre because that's what I normally do. So that's what my brain did. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I really hope you can't hear the air conditioner fan. It's new and louder, so I really hope you can't hear it. I think I have filtered the audio properly to where you can't. But let's get started, and enough of this babbling. We'll start the month off with some thrillers. On July 1st, there is Party of Liars by Kelsey Cox. Today is Sophie Matthews' 16th birthday, an exclusive black tie bash in the heart of Texas Hill Country, where secrets are deep-rooted as sprawling live oaks. Sophie's dad has spared no expense, and his renowned cliffside mansion, once thought haunted and shuttered for years from outsiders, is now hosting the event of the season. Then, just before the candles on the three-tiered red velvet cake are blown out, a body falls from the balcony onto the starlit dance floor below. It's a killer guest list. Everyone is invited in. Not everyone will get out alive. This is a locked room type thing. You know, they're in a house kind of isolated out in the countryside for this lavish Sweet 16 bash. And possibly it is multi-POV. It at least does lay out some of the prime suspects in the description and like what a one-liner of what their cause could be. Moving to the 8th, there's How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. This is more of a supernatural thriller. When legendary horror author Mortimer Queen passes, a group of writers find themselves invited to his last will and testament reading, expecting a piece of his massive fortune. Each have their own unique connection to the literary icon, some known, some soon to be discovered, and they've been waiting for their chance to step into the author's shoes for some time. Instead, they arrive at his grand manor and are invited to play a game. The rules are simple: solve the riddle and progress to the next room. If they don't, the manor will take one of them for itself. Very cool sounding. The cover looks like something else that I think also came out this year, and I also talked about. Have I read it, or do I remember what it is? No. Also coming out on the 8th is a sequel, The Woman in Suite 11 by Ruth Ware. When an invitation to attend the press opening of a luxury Swiss hotel owned by the reclusive millionaire Marcus Liedman arrives, it's like the answer to a prayer. 3 years after the birth of her youngest child, Lo Blacklock is ready to reestablish her journalism career, but post-pandemic travel journalism is a very different landscape from the one she left 10 years ago. This is the sequel to The Woman in Cabin 10, and it has received very mixed reviews. Like, very polar opposite end of reviews. There was a few middle of the line, but most of them were polar opposites of either people loving or people saying, why was this even made? Moving to July 15th, we have The Unraveling of Julia by Lisa Scottoline. Lately, Julia Pritzker is beginning to think she's cursed. She's lost her adoptive parents, then her husband is murdered. When she realizes that her horoscope essentially foretold his death, she begins to spiral. She fears her fate is written in the stars, not held in her own hands. Then a letter arrives out of the blue, informing her that she has inherited a Tuscan villa and vineyard, but her benefactor is a total stranger named Amelia Rossi. Julia has no information about her biological family, so she wonders if Rossi could be a blood relative. Bewildered, she heads to Tuscany for answers. But before long in Tuscany, things begin to turn a little odd, and she starts to question her sanity. And even meeting a handsome guy there doesn't help. Most of the description does not seem to be romantic in any form or fashion. And yet, it is also has that little romance tag on it, as, you know, subjects. And I'm like, just because it says she meets a handsome stranger? I don't know. Moving on to the 22nd, we have an adult debut that's Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Jet is the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in Woodstock, Vermont. At 27 years old, she's still waiting for her life to begin. "I'll do it later," she always says. She has time. until Halloween night when Jet is violently attacked by an unseen intruder. She suffers a catastrophic head injury. The doctor is certain that within a week, the injury will trigger a deadly aneurysm. Jet has never thought of herself as having enemies, but now she looks at everyone in a new light. Her family, her former best friend turned sister-in-law, her ex-boyfriend. She has at most 7 days, and as her condition deteriorates, she has only her childhood friend Billy for help. But nevertheless, she's absolutely determined to finally finish something. Jet is going to solve her own murder. Another author that I've been wanting to try is, and I'll get around to it eventually. Now, this one sounds very intriguing. I like the whole premise behind it. Our final thriller is coming out on the 29th, and that is Guess Again by Charlie Donnelly. 10 years ago, 17-year-old high school volleyball star Callie Jones vanished from her quiet Wisconsin lake community. A highly publicized search followed, but her body was never found. The case went cold, but the echoes still linger. Ethan Hall, a former renegade detective turned ER doctor, left law enforcement to escape the horrors of the Kid Crime Division. But on the 10th anniversary of Callie's disappearance, his former partner, Pete Kramer, makes a desperate request. Pete is the veteran detective who originally investigated the case. Now he's dying, and to ease his conscience and get closure for the Jones family, he needs Ethan to return to the haunting work he left behind and solve what happened to Callie once and for all. That is quite a career change. Detective to ER doctor, and they both require so much time into the field. This is, I think, the only YA to make it onto the list, and it is a YA thriller, Codebreaker by J. Martell, coming out on July 22nd. Maya Hayes has peaceful plans for the summer, find a part-time job at a coffee shop, and work on her college applications. Those plans are shattered one night when government agents arrive unannounced at her home, seeking something they believe her father has taken. When the dust settles, her mother is dead and her father is gone, a fugitive on the run. 3 weeks later, and still reeling from her father's betrayal, Maya spends her 17th birthday at a protest in the heart of D.C., where she meets Logan, a rebellious and charming hacker. Just as she's enjoying her first happy moment since the night her world exploded, a voicemail from her father arrives to upend everything she believed about her family, her past, and what it really happened that night 3 weeks ago. Even more, the voicemail hides another encoded message inside which, once Maya solves it, sets her and Logan off on a mission from her sleepy suburb straight into the heart of the federal government. It did say for fans of like the Da Vinci Code and National Treasure, and also that it reads pretty easily, so even a younger YA would be able to enjoy and understand this and make their way through it, as well as also it's still enjoyable for all the adult reviewers as well. They were saying it works very well, probably for a very wide range of reading capabilities, which is good. Into our sci-fis, starting on July 15th, Tales of the Sun Eater, Volume 4 by Christopher Rocchio. As usual, this is a collection of short stories following other characters throughout the Sun Eater universe. I like these because, one, you do see from other characters, you get different perspectives, you get more to the universe itself. You see different parts of it, different things. There was one, though, that I really disliked. A legendary hero, an old soldier, a monster from beyond the stars. In the far future, an old man must kill to save his unborn daughter, must fight to prevent an assassination, the start of a war that would shatter many worlds. Now bear witness to the noon of mankind, of an age when humanity's empire stretches far across the stars, a time of war, of great evils, and of still greater good. Here are further tales of strange far worlds, tales of battle, of desperation, of holy law. And here, too, are tales of a man who will change the fate and future of the galaxy as a whole. Tales of the Sun Eater, Hadrian Marlowe himself. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to get to these, of course, and see. Based off the author's words, all of these stories take place before Disquiet Gods, which is book 6. But also he said at a different point that nothing in the stories takes place after book 5, like later at the book 5 in the timeline. And also, none of the short stories in any of the Tales volumes are required reading to understand or enjoy the books. They just give extra flavor. On July 29th is The Last Voyage by Brian McLaren. McLaren? It's 2056, and international oligarchs have pushed the world to the precipice of ecological, economic, and nuclear catastrophe. But two philanthropists have teamed up to establish a long-term colony on Mars. Could this daring outpost be the next chapter in the story of the human race? Assembling a crack team of experts, including scientists, engineers, and ecologists, I said that funny, the colony begins to establish a viable outpost on the nearest planet, but the team quickly runs into problems as they bear the responsibility of creating a new humanity. Can they work out what has gone wrong before it's too late? And will the passengers of the last voyage from Earth bring what's needed for this fledgling community to flourish? This is going to be the start to a trilogy, and it sounds super cool. The cover is really dark, though. It's the red and black, and it's very dark, jarring. Moving along to our fantasy titles. The first one up releases on July 1st. That's Human Rights by Juno Dawson. This is the conclusion to the HMRC trilogy that started with Her Majesty's Royal Coven. The description of the first book. At the dawn of their adolescence, on the eve of the summer solstice, 4 young girls, Helena, Lonnie, Nima, and Elle, took an oath to join Her Majesty's Royal Coven, established by Queen Elizabeth I as a covert government department. Now, decades later, the witch community is still reeling from a civil war, and Helena is now the reigning high priestess of the organization. Yet, Helena is the only one of her friend group still enmeshed in the stale bureaucracy of HMRC. Elle is trying to pretend she's a normal housewife, and Nima has become a country vet, using her powers to heal sick animals. In what Helena perceives as the deepest betrayal, Lonnie has defected to start her own, more inclusive and intersectional coven, Diaspora. And now Helena has a big problem. A young warlock of extraordinary capabilities has been captured by authorities and seems to threaten the very existence of HMRC. With conflicting beliefs over the best course of action, the 4 friends must decide where their loyalties lie, with preserving tradition or doing what is right. I liked the first book until the end. Like, the last few pages, the end, if you know what I mean. And I was so upset by that ending and so mad about that ending. I was like, I'm not gonna read book 2. But of course I did read the description for Human Rights, and now I am a bit conflicted. Do I go back, or do I not? On to July 8th, we start with another trilogy conclusion. That would be Red Tempest Brother by H.M. Long, finishing out the Winter Sea trilogy that started with Darkwater Daughter. It's pirates and magic, and like really, really interesting magic and world building. When I first did hear about it, I thought it was romantasy, but it's not. Maybe it's fantasy with like the hints of romance, but even barely with that. Mary Firth is a storm singer, a woman whose voice can still hurricanes and shatter armadas. And faced with servitude to a pirate lord, Sylvanus Lear, Mary offers her skills to his arch-rival in exchange for protection, and more importantly, his help sending Lear to a watery grave. But her new ally has a vendetta of his own, and Mary's dreams are dark and full of gistings, spectral creatures who inhabit the ancient forests of her homeland and the figureheads of ships. Our other main character is Samuel Rasa, a disgraced naval officer serving aboard the Heart, an infamous privateer commissioned to bring Lear to justice. He will stop at nothing to capture Lear, restore his good name, and reclaim the only thing that stands between himself and madness, a talisman stolen by Mary. The first book was very interesting. You do see from both of these perspectives, and there are brief little interludes normally between the chapters of different kinds too. There's like 2 different kinds of the interlude pages, and they're not long. They're like a page or so. So it's quite an interesting world, and I like the world. It is a little slow though. Just know that going in, and you'll probably be fine. That it's just a little slow. Also on the 8th is the start of the Chaos Constellation series, The Griffin King by Sarah O'Meara. Batar was only a child when he killed a griffin, making him a legend across the Red Steppe. Now he is the formidable Batar Ra, ruling over the continent that once scorned his people. After a string of improbable victories, he turns his sights on the wealthy, powerful kingdom of Dumkara and their vicious Pegasus-mounted warriors. Nohara Zoltama has no fear of the infamous warlord who marches on her country. She and her sisters are Harpy Knights, goddess-blessed and lethal. But as deceit and betrayal swirl through her father's court, she soon learns the price of complacency. With Nunkara under Batar's rule, Nora vows to take revenge, yet her growing closeness to the Raja's wife, Kira, threatens to undo her resolve. I'm sorry, I messed up a lot of words there at the end, and both characters seem like they might have to fight together for their new country that they have, formed. He conquered, and she learns that maybe he's not as horrible as she thought he was. One that I think sounds very humorous, coming out on the 8th, and part of me is not entirely sure why I think it sounds so humorous, but I find the description very funny. Though when I read it back, I was like, I don't know where I'm getting the humor from exactly, but The Lavender Blade by E.L. Deards. Colton and Lucien make a living conning the desperate with fake exorcisms. Lucien is the charm, Colton the trick, and together they've turned deception into survival. Their work is dangerous, their romance even riskier, but they've always found a way to stay ahead, until Lucien is truly possessed. A powerful demon takes hold, twisting his body into something unnatural, horrific, wrong, and no priest, no con, no desperate lie can fix it. With time running out and Lucien slipping further away, Colton has no choice but to learn real magic, break every rule, and attempt the impossible. See, I'm not entirely sure why. I keep thinking, maybe because they're con artists, faking people through exorcisms. I could not tell you. I really can't, but that's in my head now, and so it won't go. On July 15th, we have 2 trilogies concluding. First up would be the Broken Blades trilogy with 3 Shattered Souls by Mai Corland. This started with 5 broken blades. The 5 most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned to work together for a single objective: kill the god King June. He has it coming. Under his merciless, immortal hand, the nobles flourish while the poor and innocent are imprisoned, ruined, or sold. And now each of the 5 blades will come for him. Each has tasted bitterness from the hired hitman seeking atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the prince banished for his cruel crimes. None can resist that sweet, icy allure of vengeance. And yes, I do have it in fantasy, because I think it is still primarily fantasy story with romantic subplots. But from everything I've heard about it, it's still majority fantasy. The other one on the 15th is also in a similar vein that I feel from reading the first book, it was more fantasy than romance. So I put it here, even though I have not read the sequel. That's going to be the end of the Nightshade Crown trilogy with The Nightshade God by Hannah Whitten. The first book was The Foxglove King. When Laura was 13, she escaped a cult in the catacombs beneath the city of Delaire, and in the 10 years since, she has lived by one rule: don't let them find you. Easier said than done when her death magic ties her to the city. Mortem, the magic born from death, is a high-priced and illicit commodity in Delaire, and Laura's job, running poisons, keeps her in food, shelter, and relative security. But when a run goes wrong and Laura's power is revealed, she's taken by the Presque Mort, a group of warrior monks sanctioned to use Mortem, working for the sainted king. Laura fully expects a pyre, but King August has a different plan. Entire villages on the outskirts of the country have been dying overnight, seemingly at random. Laura can either use her magic to find out what's happening and who the king's court is responsible, or die. So she must go undercover, followed by one of the monk bodyguards pretty much at all times. On to July 29th, we have Silvercloak by L.K. Stephen. 2 decades ago, the Blood Moons ruthlessly murdered Saffron Killoran's parents, destroying her idyllic childhood. Hell-bent on revenge, she lies her way into the Silvercloak Academy, the training ground for her city's elite order of detectives, with the single goal to bring the Blood Moons to justice. But when Saph's deception is exposed, rather than being cast out, she's given a rare opportunity to go undercover and tear the Blood Moons down from the inside. Descending into a world where pleasure and pain are the most powerful currencies, Saph must commit some truly heinous deeds to keep her cover, and her life. Not only are the rival gangs and sinister smuggling rings to contend with, but there's also her growing feelings for the Kingpin's tortured son and his vicious pet Fallow Wolf, his dark past, and his curious prophecy foretelling the death at Saffron's hands. So interesting, and the magic system seems to be based around pleasure and pain. So very, very interesting aspects to work with. This time, we are also breaking it down into a cozy fantasy genre, because these are ones that I don't know for sure if everybody would consider them in the fantasy, or some people might want to like push them into like romance, or some people like really do, which would be like, this is cozy. On July 8th, The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam by Megan Bannon. This is still taking place in her world of Terrana that started with The Heart and Mercy. I think it is called the Heart and Mercy series, which I don't know, maybe they'll workshop that. Immortal demigod Rosie Fox has been patrolling Terrana for decades, but lately the job has been losing its luster. When Rosie dies, again, by electrocution, again, after poking around inside a portal choked with shadowy thorns, she feels stuck in the rut that is her unending life. The portal's uptight creator, Adam Lee, must come in person to repair the damage, but when all the portals break down at once, Rosie and Adam wind up trapped inside the mist, and the reticent inventor in his bespoke menswear seems to know a lot more about what's happening than he lets on. All of these do take place with other characters. I have not read any of them, so I can't say if the characters from other books do show up, but they are all in the same world, and I shook absolutely everything. The mic, the camera. Moving to the 15th, we have The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst, also taking place in the same world as the first book, The Spell Shop, but yet again with other characters, completely unrelated. It seems like to be in a different place entirely as well. Turlu Purna broke the law because she was lonely. She cast a spell and created a magically sentient spider plant. As punishment, she was turned into a wooden statue and tucked away into an alcove in the North Reading Room of the Great Library of Elysium. This should have been the end of her story, yet one day, Turlu awakes in the cold of winter on a nearly deserted island full of hundreds of magical greenhouses. She's starving and freezing, and the only other human on the island is a grumpy gardener. To her surprise, he offers Turlu a place to sleep, clean clothes, and freshly baked honey cakes, at least until she's ready to sail home. She soon discovers, though, that something is happening with the magic of the island and the greenhouses are failing. And of course, she wants to help. Also on the 15th is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. Sarah Swan used to be one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead, lost most of her magic, befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, and was exiled from her guild. Now she, slightly reluctantly and just a bit grumpily, helps Jasmine run an enchanted inn in Lancashire, where she deals with her quirky guest shenanigans, tries to keep said talking fox in check, and longs for the future that seems lost to her. But then she finds out an old spell that could hold the key to restoring her power. Enter Luke Larson, handsome and icy magical historian who arrives on a dark winter evening and just might know how to unlock the spell's secrets. But Luke has absolutely no interest in getting involved in the madcap goings-on of the inn, and is definitely not about to let a certain bewitching innkeeper past his walls, so no one is more surprised than he is when he agrees to help Sarah with her spell. So it sounds so sweet and quirky and adorable, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. We're going to end the month off on Romanatsy. On July 1st, A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. Nina Harrow and Patrick Colston are 12 years old when they are whisked away from the shadows of their disenfranchised mining towns to dazzling Belvedere City to discover their magical potential. Those who pass Belvedere's test will become artisans, wielders of powerful elemental magic destined to fulfill the city's grand ambitions. For Nina, artisan school symbolizes a dream, an escape from her harsh reality, while Patrick yearns to return to his craftsman family, whose extraordinary physical strength serves the idiom minds keeping the city alive. And then they uncover a devastating truth. Artisans aren't born, they're chosen. They part ways on very different paths, leaving them to carry the burden of this secret alone. In the years that follow, a craftsman revolution ignites, thrusting Nina and Patrick into opposing factions of a brewing war. Now an elite artisan with very rare talent for charming earth, Nina has turned her back on the fight, haunted by the loss of her found family. But fate intervenes when she's captured by Patrick's rebel group. And loyalties will be tested. Which side will they be on? Is this a split POV? I don't know. But it sounds very interesting. And I mispronounce common words, I think, too. Also on the 1st is a standalone prequel to the Bewitched series, The Curse That Binds by Laura Thalassa. He called her queen, then turned her world to ash. 2,000 years before the rise of the Henbane Coven, Roxalina was just a Roman girl trying to survive the shadows of empire, until the day a voice begins speaking inside her head. That voice belongs to Memnon, king of the Sarmatians? A warrior touched by the gods, cursed by fate, and utterly convinced that Roxalina is his soulmate. When Roxalina's latent powers awaken, Memnon appears at her door with a crown in one hand and a destiny in the other. Before she knows it, she's swept away to a strange new land and named queen of a people she barely understands, and wife to a man whose love is intense as it is terrifying. I have no idea what any of that means, because I have not read the series, but I feel like people might understand. If they've read the series, they'll be like, oh, that's that person. And also, it does seem pretty and cool. Moving on to the 8th, we have 2 very interesting titles. The first up is The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. This is the first in the Dearly Beloved duology. When Orsic Mordorant, member of the Freyrin Order of Assassins, falls ill, he realizes he needs the expertise of a very specific healer. As fate would have it, that healer belongs to an enemy faction, the Hellion Order? Arlene, I don't know how to say her name. Farim and her fellow Hellion are inundated by sick children suffering from an outbreak of a long-forgotten pox. Unable to get the funding needed to launch an immunization program, the Hellion Order is desperate for money. So desperate that when Osric breaks into the headquarters to bribe Arene to heal him, she is forced to accept. As Osric and Arene work together to solve not only his illness, but the mysterious reoccurrence of the pox, they find themselves ardently denying their attraction, which only fuels the tension between them. Okay, so I read this, and I had inkling thoughts that, is it? Is it? And, the cover, also coming out on the 8th, Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. The war is over, the dark forces have won, and the hero who was supposed to save them is dead. Captured as her castle is overrun by the enemy, the world as Bryony Roseward knows it is changed forever. Evil has won, and her people face imminent servitude, imprisonment, or death. Stripped of her magic and her freedom, Bryony and the other survivors are quickly sold off to the highest bidders in an auction, and as Evermore's princess, she fetches the highest price. After a fierce bidding war, she's sold to none other than Tovin Hurst, scion of a family known for their cruelty. Yet despite the horrors of her newfound world and the role she must learn to play within it, all is not lost. Help and hope may yet arise in the most unlikely of places. Now, this one really, really made me think it, and so I had to search it, and I don't know if I should say it. I just want to know if these 2 descriptions made you have the same inklings that I did. And it does seem to be that was the case, that they have the, specific fandoms in mind, and shippings in mind. Nothing wrong with that. I am super excited for September, and both of these now definitely have caught my eye, and the fact that they are so very different landings on it too, the way they go about it. One definitely sounds much darker than the other one. Moving on from that, though, is our last book of the month, coming out on July 22nd with Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. This is set in a different world than her other series. Clara Graysword has survived the underworld of Eclipse City through thievery, luck, and a whole lot of illegal magic. After a job gone awry, Clara is sentenced to a lifetime in prison for inking tarot cards, a rare power reserved for practitioners at the elite Arcana Academy. Just when it seems her luck has run dry, the Academy's enigmatic headmaster, Prince Callias, offers her an escape for a price. Callias believes that Clara is the perfect tool to help him steal a tarot card from the king and use it to recreate an all-powerful card long lost to time. In order to conceal her identity and keep her close, Callias brings Clara to Arcana Academy, introducing her as the newest first-year student and his bride-to-be. I'm sorry, sir, but that seems like a conflict of interest. If you like this author, which I still need to try one of her works, because I've heard really good things, and that they're really fast to read, maybe you'll want to check this one out. those are all the ones on my list for this month that I'm most looking forward to coming out. Whether or not I can actually read them, that's up in the air. Probably, let's go with not, except like one. I would like to know, though, which ones you're most looking forward to, if they were on the list, or if there's others that are coming out next month that you want to let people know about. Feel free to drop those in the comments down below, too. I hope, though, that you are going to have a great reading month. You're finding something good to read today, and that I will see you in the next one.